Book Review: The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. Mary E. Pearson's The Kiss of Deception, the first book in the Remnant Chronicles, is a young adult fantasy novel that blends romance, mystery, and political intrigue with a touch of the supernatural. It's a novel that invites readers to question identity, truth, and the nature of power, while following a headstrong heroine on a journey of self-discovery. What sets this book apart is not just the world it builds or the plot it follows, but the way it plays with reader expectations, deconstructing traditional fantasy tropes and delivering a layered, character-driven story that grows richer with each chapter. 1. Character development. A heroine who claims her voice. At the heart of The Kiss of Deception is Princess Lia, first daughter of the House of Morrigan. Lia's decision to flee an arranged marriage on her wedding day is not a simple act of rebellion, but a layered moment of agency. It's a rejection of a life dictated by others, a refusal to be nothing more than a pawn in political games. What makes Lia's arc compelling is her growth from defiant runaway to a woman deeply aware of her responsibilities and the stakes of her choices. In the beginning, Lia is naive about the dangers of the world and the consequences of her decisions. But she learns quickly. Her arc isn't just about growing stronger, it's about developing empathy, political awareness, and emotional resilience. By the end of the novel, she isn't just running away from something, she's running toward purpose. Pearson paints Lia as fallible and emotional, but never weak. Her inner strength, compassion, and fierce loyalty to those she loves make her a nuanced and deeply likable protagonist. 2. Worldbuilding, a post-apocalyptic fantasy veiled in history. One of the novel's most intriguing qualities is its subtle world building. Set in a vaguely medieval-inspired world, the Remnant Chronicles actually hints at being a post-apocalyptic future shaped by legend, where fragments of long-lost civilizations remain. The word remnant itself suggests a shattered world rebuilt on the ruins of another. Pearson weaves in cultural divisions, particularly among the three major kingdoms, Morrigan, Lia's homeland, Dalbrack, home of the jilted prince, and Denda, a war-torn enemy state. Each has its own beliefs, traditions, and interpretations of prophecy and history. These differences are not just background color but essential to understanding the characters' motivations and the looming conflict. The inclusion of sacred texts, oral traditions, and the concept of the gift adds a spiritual and philosophical depth. Though the gift isn't fully explained, it adds a mystical thread that ties into themes of destiny and faith. 3. Narrative structure, misdirection, and perspective. One of the most discussed and admired aspects of The Kiss of Deception is its clever use of perspective. The story alternates between Lia's point of view and those of two male characters, the prince and the assassin. Crucially, readers are not told which man is which, only that one is the royal fiancé come to find her, and the other is an assassin sent to kill her. This structural choice creates a slow-burning mystery. Pearson plays fair, dropping subtle clues and red herrings throughout, challenging the reader to figure it out alongside Lia. When the reveal arrives, it's deeply satisfying, not because of a single twist, but because of how deftly Pearson handled reader expectations. This narrative device also forces readers to engage with the story more actively. You're not just reading, you're investigating. It's an immersive technique that makes the romance and suspense more impactful. 4. The romance, subtle, realistic, and earned. Although there is a love triangle, The Kiss of Deception doesn't rely on typical YA romance cliches. Instead, it uses the romantic tension to explore trust, vulnerability, and perception. Each relationship Lia builds, with Rafe and Caden, offers different reflections of her identity and the choices she's making. The chemistry is present but never rushed. Pearson allows her characters to talk, clash, misunderstand, and connect before anything romantic happens. Even when feelings begin to surface, they're complicated by secrets, past decisions, and conflicting loyalties. Importantly, Lia's romantic development never overshadows her personal journey. She is not defined by who loves her, but by who she becomes. 5. Language and prose, poetic without overwhelm. Pearson's prose is graceful and evocative, yet never flowery. She writes with a lyrical style that suits the tone of the novel, especially the introspective, emotional nature of Lia's voice. Descriptions of Teravin's landscapes, the scent of rain, or the heaviness of silence between. Characters are rendered with poetic precision. Embedded songs, texts from sacred books, and Lia's journal entries also lend a folkloric and mythic feel to the novel. These moments are small, but they deepen the sense of cultural history and emotional resonance. 6. Themes, identity, deception, and power. As the title suggests, deception is at the core of the novel. Lies we tell others, and those we tell ourselves. Lia's story revolves around her deception, fleeing her marriage. Deceptions she encounters. People are not who they claim to be. Motives are hidden. Truth is layered. This theme isn't limited to plot twists. It's philosophical. Pearson invites readers to think about identity and whether it's defined by birth, duty, or choice. Lia redefines herself not through disguise, but through action. Similarly, both Rafe and Caden must reckon with who they are versus who they were told to be. Power also plays a central role, particularly the tension between personal power and political structures. Lia's act of defiance is small in a global sense, but it creates ripples that affect kingdoms. 7. Conflict, internal and external. While the external plot centers on the threat of war between kingdoms and the assassin's mission, much of the novel's tension comes from internal conflict. Lia struggles to reconcile her personal desires with her responsibilities. Rafe and Caden each wrestle with loyalty to country versus the reality of their growing feelings. This balance between internal and external stakes is crucial. Even when the plot slows down in the middle, as it occasionally does, the emotional tension remains taut. The real danger is not just death or war, it's betrayal, loss, and the price of truth. 8. Reader engagement, a book that demands participation. Pearson trusts her readers to stay sharp. The novel doesn't spoon-feed answers. Instead, it invites you to question, guess, and revise your assumptions. This makes it incredibly engaging for readers who enjoy slow-burn mysteries and emotionally rich character studies. At the same time, the kiss of deception avoids becoming too dense or abstract. It strikes a balance between being thoughtful and entertaining. Readers who invest in its world and characters will be rewarded with twists, revelations, and the promise of an even larger story in future installments. 9. Weaknesses, a few pacing and exposition issues. While The Kiss of Deception has many strengths, it isn't without its flaws. The middle section, focused on Lia's time in Teravan, may feel slow to some readers, especially those expecting fast-paced fantasy. The romance and mystery drive the plot more than action or epic events. Additionally, some elements of the world-building, particularly the nature of the gift and the broader political landscape, remain underdeveloped in this installment. These are likely to be addressed in the sequels, but their vagueness here may leave readers with questions. Conclusion: a promising start to a thoughtful fantasy series, The Kiss of Deception is a quietly powerful novel that blends mystery, romance, and self-discovery with a deft hand. Mary E. Pearson doesn't rely on loud spectacle to draw readers in. Instead, she builds tension through character, emotion, and the slow unraveling of secrets. With a strong heroine, an intriguing love triangle that avoids cliché, and a narrative structure that actively engages the reader, this is a book that stays with you. It promises much more to come, and sets the stage for an epic trilogy that's as much about inner strength as outward war. Rating: 1/2, 4.5 out of 5.